Happy Thursday. I've got Sage with me today, and today I'm going to share with you how to cook perfectly seared salmon. Actually, I'm going to teach you 2 ways to make perfectly seared salmon, depending on the effect that you want when you're cooking your salmon. Sage, how much do you like salmon? Super. Salmon is one of our favorites in our house. My husband's half Japanese, so he grew up eating a ton of fish. And I grew up eating fish because I live in New England, but I didn't actually grow up eating fish like salmon, so I had to learn how to cook it. So the way that I'm going to teach you, ooh, I already put the pan on and it is getting spicy. So the way that I learned how to cook salmon was in culinary school, and it really hasn't failed me since. I've been cooking it this way. Sage loves it. This is a great way to cook salmon. If you are new to cooking salmon, if you're nervous about cooking salmon, there's pretty much no way to get this wrong, right? Have we ever had bad salmon? No, I don't think so. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this over to the side so we don't smoke this place out. But let's talk about how to create perfectly seared salmon. Now, there's a couple things that you need to do before you actually cook your salmon that's going to make this perfect. First thing that you need to do is you need to take your salmon out of the fridge. Obviously, if it was in the freezer, you want to defrost it first. Safest way to defrost is in the fridge or in cold water while it's still in the package if it was frozen. We get our salmon from Butcher Box. It's wild Alaskan salmon. It's delicious, but you can get it anywhere. We prefer wild. We like the flavor the best. You want it to be like bright pink like that. That's the most delicious in my opinion. So you want to make sure it's defrosted, and then you want to take it out of the fridge about 10 to 15 minutes before you're actually going to cook the salmon. This is just going to take some of the chill off of it, and if you want the crispy skin like I'm going to teach you, then you definitely want to take it out of the fridge first so that you're not putting a really cold piece of salmon onto the pan. The second thing that you want to do, you just need to scoot your arm for a sec there. The second thing that you need to do is you want to make sure that you are patting your salmon dry. This is going to help with the seasoning. It's also going to help with the sear. So I had it sitting on this paper towel here just when I took it out of the fridge. So I'm just going to pat this dry. Can you pat the other piece dry for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to pat it dry on both sides. So mine has been sitting out for about 10 minutes. Be very careful. It's super delicate, Sage.
Oh,
don't manhandle the salmon.
I do not know how to do this.
Good job. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now we're going to put our salmon that's nice and patted dry back onto our plate. All nice and dry. It's been out for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and season our salmon. Okay, what do we season our salmon with? So you can season your salmon with whatever you would like to. What do we typically season with?
So we do salt.
We do salt, yeah.
Some ginger powder.
Ginger.
I don't actually know what this is.
Season from above.
Season from above.
For even seasoning. This goes for everything, not just salmon.
I don't know.
What's that? We like to do...
I think it's cumin.
It's actually coriander, but you're very close. We like to do a combination of ginger, garlic, and coriander. You can add other things after for a sauce if you would like, but we like to keep it simple. So I'm just going to shake on. This is one of those instances where I don't measure ahead of time because I don't have measurements. You can just do salt if you'd like. You can do pepper if you would like as well. I prefer to keep it, add a little bit of seasoning, but to keep it simple. I did not realize that that did not have a top on it. That's going to be like very coriander-y. That's okay. We like seasoning. Yeah. So I just season on the top of the salmon for the like actual spices, and then I will put salt on the bottom of the salmon once I flip it over. Okay, so I'm going to pat this into the salmon over here.
Can I pat?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to grab a paper towel to wipe my hands off. And then we're going to go ahead and get our pan nice and hot. Okay, here's the key. You want your pan nice and hot, but you do not want to set your salmon on fire. Super hot does not mean that it needs to be at a super, super high heat. It just needs to be nice and heated. So I've had my element on. I've got a hot plate over here just so it's easier for you to see. I've had my element on for a little while now. So once your pan is nice and hot, You want to put some sort of oil, or you can put butter in there as well.
Mom,
I recommend, one second, sweetie, okay? I recommend a neutral oil. I've got olive oil today, but I recommend a neutral oil like avocado or ghee. Adds a really delicious butter flavor, but it withstands higher heats. When you're using butter, especially at a higher heat, it will brown easily, and that's typically not the effect that you're going for when you're cooking fish. It can be, but typically it's not. So I just go ahead and add a good amount of oil in the pan, swirl it around so it coats the bottom of the pan. And you will know that it is ready when you go ahead and put the salmon in the pan and it starts to sizzle. Now, there are two camps when it comes to actually putting your salmon in the pan. You can put your salmon in skin side down, or you can put your salmon in on skin side up. Now, I was taught in culinary school to put it the flesh side down because you're going to get the best sear on the actual flesh of the salmon. But most people I know really like a crispy skin. So to get the crispy skin, like Sage, I'm not sure what's happening with my phone over there. But if you want that, turning down our element, nice and crispy skin, you want to put the skin side down first. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to put the skin side down and we're going to let it cook for about 4 to 6 minutes with the skin side down. What you will start to see is you will start to see the flesh start to turn a lighter color. You will actually watch it cook, and we'll see it when it's in the pan. You'll actually start to see it go from dark to starting to turn light about halfway up, and that's when you know it's about time to flip it over. How long you cook it after that is up to you, and it totally depends on the kind of the doneness you want for your salmon. Most people like their salmon cooked all the way through, but you can definitely cook it to medium if you are comfortable with it, especially if you are using a really good quality salmon. You guys, I'm not sure what's happening with Instagram right now. It is, it keeps like my phone keeps shutting off or keeps going to pause. So hopefully that doesn't keep happening for us over here. All right, so we're gonna take it, we're gonna put it in the pan. You're gonna hear that sizzle. Can you hear that?
Can I tell you something?
What?
Can I tell them something?
Can you tell them something? Sure, go ahead.
You should probably back up for the pan so you don't get burned because the oil is flicking.
Yes, you're right. Woo! Okay, why don't you back up? We don't normally stand this close to our pan, right?
No.
So we're gonna let that cook for about 4 to 5 minutes, and I like using one of these. This is a fish spatula. This is my favorite tool to use when you're cooking fish. It just handles the fish, which is quite delicate, especially if you're using a white fish, but same thing goes for salmon, a little bit better than if you were to use tongs or something like that, where the salmon might fall apart. All right. All right, so I'm gonna keep it going over here a little bit, but I will show you what it looks like as the salmon is starting to cook. It's starting to get a little bit more pale. It will sputter a little bit because you're at like medium high heat. So like I said, you wanna put it on like medium high heat and just let the pan get nice and hot. Add the oil in there, add the salmon skin side down if you want crispy skin. And if you would rather have a crispy, I mean, you will definitely, the other side, so the flesh side will definitely be crispy. But if you want the skin to be super crispy, put the skin in first, let that cook most of the way, and then you can flip it over and sear the other side. Now, the other way, if you do not want to finish your salmon in the pan, if you would like your salmon cooked all the way through, is to go ahead and finish it in the oven. So what I'll do is I'll preheat the oven to about 400 degrees. So it happens nice and fast because we don't want to overcook our fish. I will sear it on either side. So like I said, this is going to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes on one side. It's actually getting there right now. And then we're going to flip it over and cook it for like anywhere from another 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how thick your salmon is and how well you want it done. And if you're going to put it in the oven, then you just want to sear it for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Watch out, baby. Why don't you step down? Yeah. She's not normally this close to the hot plate. We're gonna flip it. There we go. And then we're gonna put it back in. You can put it in the oven for about 4 to 5 minutes at 400, and that should cook it all the way through, just depending on how cooked through you like it. You guys, I'm gonna just take this off really quick just to show you how delicious this crispy skin is. Look at that. Look at how delicious. Okay, we're gonna put it back in to finish cooking. It is so simple. The key here is to, number one, take it out 10 to 20 minutes before you are about to cook it to take the chill off. Number two, make sure that you pat it dry really well. Make sure that you season it. Like I said, I like to season the skin just a little bit because we like to eat the skin. It actually has the most omega-3s in it of the whole fish, so the skin is really healthy. It's really delicious as well when you cook it like this. Most people will discard the salmon skin, but when you cook it the right way, it is so good. So take it out of the fridge. Make sure that you are drying it off. Season it well. Put it in a pan that's been nice and heated with a drizzle of oil. Add it in, skin side down if you want that crispy skin. 4 to 5 minutes. Flip it over for another 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how done you want your salmon. You will see it. I'll take it out again. This is not typically just leave the salmon. Stand with it, leave it, let it cook. But you'll see it's starting to cook through, okay? This is not a super thick piece of salmon. These are fillets. If it was a steak, then this would definitely take longer to cook. But this is cooking up pretty quickly. You want to make sure you're standing with your salmon and you're watching it. This is not the type of food where you can just like leave it and come back to it. You definitely want to make sure that, you're staying with it. Now I have taken the salmon off the pan twice, so the top might not be as perfectly seared as it might be if I hadn't taken it off, but really I wanted to show you the skin because that's what's most beautiful about it, huh? So, if you don't want to finish it in the pan, 2 to 3 minutes each side, pop it in the oven at 400 degrees after 2 to 3 minutes either side for about 4 to 5 minutes, and it'll be perfectly done through. It is so delicious. So this just needs about another minute, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab a plate and I will show you what it looks like. All right, looking good. And just so you know, I get this question all the time. You can get something like this on Amazon. It's probably very inexpensive too. I've had this since my since my cooking in restaurant days. We had to label everything with like stickers to make sure that people didn't steal our equipment. All right, you guys. Here we go. So beautiful. So we are gonna sear this up. We're gonna serve this up with rice and broccoli tonight. We like to keep it super simple. I love cooking my rice with half canned coconut milk, half water to give it a really creamy flavor. It's so good that way. And then broccoli, we're probably just gonna roast it up. I've got some frozen broccoli in the freezer and we're gonna serve it alongside our perfectly seared salmon. How quick was that? Super easy. I am so sorry for some of the, tech issues that were going on today. For some reason, my phone was like sleeping on me over there. So thank you guys. For those of you who are on with me this whole time, hopefully this turns out, despite me losing the connection a couple times there. Technology is weird, right? But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys will go home and make your own perfectly seared salmon. I'm gonna go ahead and put the directions to this in stories after this. Hopefully I can re-upload this to stories afterwards, after it's all done. And I will see you guys not next week. Next week is Thanksgiving. And then we can go ahead and decide what we're gonna cook the week after next. So next week we'll take a break, have a beautiful, happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving. And then I will put up a question probably next week in my stories and ask you guys what you want me to cook up next. I've had some great suggestions from you guys. We're gonna do roasted vegetables coming up soon. We might do bolognese coming up soon. But let me know what you want to see next. All right, friends, have a beautiful rest of your Thursday, and I will talk to you guys soon.